Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Transfer Review, where Pato and I take a closer look at silly season, and something has happened and it's actually not so silly. Let's kick things off with Liverpool's big summer, starting with Fabinho moving into other transfer targets.
Yeah, well, it looks like this Fabinho move has happened pretty quickly. Now, as we know, there was a bit of a tussle between Monaco and PSG over him last summer, but Liverpool have just swooped in and got it done in pretty much the first week of the transfer window. 24-year-old will join them on a 5-year contract. He'll earn about 110k a week, which seems pretty reasonable, really.
Definitely.
And the initial fee looks to be £39 million, which could rise to 44 in performance-related add-ons. That's pretty exciting stuff. Apparently, Arsenal made a late inquiry. Man United were interested last summer. So we do know that this is a high-value target that Liverpool have managed to snap up. And Jurgen Klopp seems absolutely delighted. He said he can play 6, 8 or 2. That is really, really cool. And they do need that. They need that depth at right back. I like Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm not yet of the opinion that he's the greatest right back in the world, which a lot of people seem to think. Liverpool definitely need a number 6. I'm not sure about him as an 8. I think Klopp's being a little bit generous there. But he definitely can play centre-back as well. So an interesting candidate. And it looks like he'll replace the departing Emre Can, who's on his way to Juventus. Now, last season, 26 of Fabinho's 34 Ligue 1 starts came as a DM, and very, very impressive defensive output. Led the league in tackles, making 4.7 tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes. That's roughly the same as N'Golo Kante, so very impressive stuff. Certainly an upgrade on Henderson, who's down on 2.2 tackles and interceptions. And with, I don't know, Henderson, not necessarily the best talent in the world. Milner, who's been absolutely sensational, is probably too old to expect that from him again. It seems like they're adding a guy who'll be really helpful. Plus, a bit more aerial threat. They're really upgrading their threat in the air with Van Dijk, and obviously playing Lovren over Matip as well. So that's something that they're interested in. He won the most aerial duels in Ligue 1 last season, Fabinho. Pretty impressive.
And they look to be adding more talent to their ranks in the form of Nabil Fekir.
Ooh. How
have the top teams managed to let Liverpool, let's say, upgrade their midfield from Oxlade-Chamberlain, Henderson and Wijnaldum / Chan and co.
Gross.
To potentially Fekir, Keita and your boy Fabinho? It's just gone completely under the radar, hasn't it? I think Jose Mourinho needs to step up big time, especially if Manchester City get Jorginho. Then all of a sudden he needs a central midfielder, and he's let 2 top class central midfielders slip through his fingers. But like you said, plenty of other players out there. Anyway, let's do Nabil Fekir because we went a bit off script there. Yes, apparently, according to L'Equipe, in the next 2 weeks, Liverpool want the Nabil Fekir deal sewn up. The reported fee is believed to be around £62 million, with a further £4 million added on in Champions League related bonuses, let's call it. Fekir will definitely add creativity to that midfield, won't he? Naby Keita's pretty much box to box. Fabinho's that defensive solidity. Nabil Fekir will add flair in that 4-3-3, although has played a little bit further up for Lyon this season, right? Almost in a kind of second striker position.
Yeah, he's never played in that midfield 3 in a 4-3-3. He's always played in a 4-2-3-1 or as one of the forwards in a 4-3-3. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can adapt his game to being kind of an interior like Coutinho was able to.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. A bit like Coots towards the tail end. Indeed, last season he was extremely prolific, but this might be a little bit more unsustainable if we take a closer look at the numbers. Fekir was converting with around 20% of his shots last season. That's twice the average of any other Ligue 1 player. So extremely clinical, reminiscent of sort of Vardy and Mahrez in that title-winning campaign. But still, amazingly talented. Definitely an exciting addition to the Premier League ranks.
Would his injury history be a worry?
I mean, he looks to have put that behind him, doesn't he? And he's still only 24 and never that reliant on pace.
True.
So I think this is a positive move. Finally, Pato, we have Alisson, who is... We've talked about him before, haven't we, going to Liverpool? It kind of makes sense, but these rumours are resurfacing yet again as Liverpool look to spend big.
Yeah, well, obviously Liverpool had already been linked with the keeper before the Champions League final, and after a pretty poor performance, I think we can all agree, from Loris Karius, they want to step that up. The Times are saying that they may make a world record bid for a goalkeeper, and that goalkeeper would be Roma's Alisson. Apparently Roma would want about 100 million euros for him. And to be honest, you can see why Liverpool would overpay. They haven't really had much success there since 2011. Not a single one of their keepers has really worked out. And the last reliable man they had between the sticks was probably Pepe Reina in 2012. Now, he saved still about 96% of the expected goals he faced, whereas Alisson this season it was around 135%. Now that may be unsustainable because that is white hot, but still he's overperformed in every season so far as a professional, so that certainly bodes well for the future. I don't know, Alisson would be very, very good. I think these signings definitely would make them title contenders. I can't really complain about them at all. I think they know what their weaknesses are and they're taking steps to wrap up deals early on so they can get a full pre-season ahead of them. I think this is really exciting stuff if you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, and they're starting to profile really well. There's a cohesion to their transfer targets, isn't there? Which has been lacking severely in the past. But what do you guys think? Will these signings make Liverpool title contenders? Can Klopp finally win some silverware? And with this additional spend, will the pressure be on him to do so? Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Next up, we have a big Barcelona move. Apparently, they want Miralem Pjanic off Juventus. This comes from Don Ballon.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about this. You're a little bit sceptical, but let's dive into the facts. Don Ballon, let's dive into the facts, and starting with Don Ballon shouldn't be in the same sentence. But Don Ballon are reporting that both Barca and Real Madrid are interested in 28-year-old Juve regista Miralem Pjanic. Now, according to the Spanish paper, Lionel Messi personally requested that the Blaugrana outfit try and sign the £58 million rated Bosnian.
That's ridiculous.
And I think it's not hard to see why. He's been dubbed the new Pirlo since he moved, which is very generous, but there are elements of his play which are very similar. Obviously moved from Roma in 2016 for 28 million. And subsequently has contributed to 27 goals in 53 league starts, despite being played progressively deeper by Allegri. But instead of his attacking numbers suffering, and here's where I think his genius lies, Pato, and we can disagree on this, it's in his adaptability. Basically, in 17-18, Allegri played him a little bit deeper, but he adapted and became a more well-rounded player, averaging 67 passes per game, which is a career high, along with a 90% pass accuracy. I mean, 44 of those go forward as well, so he's very positive in his play. And to compensate for that reserved positioning, he's upped his long ball games pretty significantly from around 3.5 the year before to 5.4, which means he's still creating around 1.9 chances. That would be the second best in this current Barcelona outfit, which is pretty solid when you consider the wide talent Barcelona have if he was to move to Catalonia. I think a lot of Barcelona fans would welcome him. I'd like to see him there. I think he's a more cost-effective option than someone like Verratti, and Verratti didn't have a great season this season. Although £58 million, he's 28. It could be argued that money's better served elsewhere. But what do you think? How do you see him fitting in to Barcelona? Should he move?
Well, it would mean he'd probably move a bit further forward again because of Busquets, and that would certainly be a good thing because I very much preferred him at Roma to this quite boring version of him at Juventus. However, that fee, they'd be able to defray that a little bit, you'd have thought, by selling some of their midfield assets. They've got Andre Gomes, who, while we don't like him, he's going to get them some money. Denis Suarez, he'll get them some money. They could even sell Paulinho, who's on 120k a week, which is actually 15k more than Pjanic gets paid at Juve. And of course, Iniesta's off, and he was getting on for £200,000 a week. So they are going to free up a bunch of money, and they could definitely find space for Pjanic in there. However, you'd have thought that the 4-4-2 would probably have to say goodbye. I'm not sure that a midfield of Busquets and Pjanic is terribly solid.
Sorry about it.
That's right.
Didn't say that. Hey, thief tablet. Nightmare. God. Oh, keep that in. All good stuff.
I think this would probably need a change of formation from Valverde, though. I don't really like the idea of a midfield two of Busquets and Pjanic. That's not terribly solid to me. But it allows you to get in all your attacking talent. I guess the theory is if you can play Suarez, Messi, Dembele, Coutinho, then it's all right to kind of have a little bit of a porous midfield. That's the thing, while his creative numbers are good from deep, his defensive numbers are not spectacular. 3.2 tackles and interceptions per 90 as a deepest midfielder is okay, but not amazing. And the thing is, they don't necessarily need that creativity. Ousmane Dembele was creating 2.3 chances per 90, but obviously played under 1,000 minutes, which is why he's not on that list of the most creative players in the Barca team. I'd expect that he'd probably do more next season. I'd expect Coutinho would as well. I think Rakitic would probably be moved on maybe, or drop out again, which is a pity as he's had a very solid season. Played the second most minutes for an outfield player at Barcelona after Messi, completed the second most passes per 90 after Busquets. And when Iniesta couldn't see out the last third of games and Paulinho dropped off a bit, Rakitic was the guy picking up the slack. For me, this one doesn't really make sense for the money it's reported out. I think Barcelona could probably take a punt on someone a bit younger, or somebody whose talents perhaps more closely match their weaknesses. But what do you guys think? Pjanic certainly does seem to fit into their new semi-Galacticos theory of signings. Do you not think? They're trying to do that Real Madrid thing where they're trying to pick up high value targets, but they're just doing kind of a job at it.
See, I'd love to see Pjanic at Barcelona. Who do you agree with? Let us know in the poll above. Penultimate rumour then is Forsberg to Arsenal. And had this happened last summer, you may have been a little more excited than now, right?
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't really make me happy at all. The start of Unai Emery's reign at Arsenal has not been a terribly good one from the point of view of transfers. It looks like Arsenal are sorting out a move for Sokratis Papastathopoulos for around £16 million, getting Stephan Lichtsteiner on a free. Lichtsteiner, I suppose, okay, short-term contract, add some backup to Bellerin, which currently we don't have at all. Sokratis, horrible move, dreadful player, 30 years old, wouldn't really bother. But anyway, according to the Metro and Swedish publication Expressen, Emery is now going for 26-year-old Emil Forsberg. And when I say Emery, I mean Mislintat, who's now running transfers for Arsenal. It seems that Arsenal are not being put off by the fact that RB Leipzig have previously quoted around £47 million for the player, despite the fact that apparently we only have a transfer budget of 70 million quid. I think as well that with Ozil, Mkhitaryan, even Iwobi, depth at attacking mid is not really something Arsenal need. I do think they need a fast, young winger who's good in the one-on-one. That is not Forsberg. He's not young, he's not fast, he's not a particularly great dribbler. What he is a creator, right? And he is very good at that, but to me, this doesn't really make sense. I think there are teams who could use him more.
Yeah, I think what seems likely is that he'll move regardless of whether Arsenal come in for him or not. Now, speculation has no doubt distracted the winger who only notched 5 goals in his final 27 games after an explosive first season where he contributed to 27 goals in 27 starts. 19 assists amongst them, extremely impressive in his debut campaign and RB's debut campaign in the Bundesliga. Now, people are reading into a tweet he sent out after the Hoffenheim game where he said, "Thank you for everything." That normally signals the death knell, doesn't it? But like you said, I'd be extremely surprised if Arsenal spent the bulk of their transfer kitty on a player like this, even with the Independent saying that Stan Kroenke is giving Emery another 20 million. That just about covers Forsberg and Sokratis, doesn't it? So it doesn't make sense. But Juventus and Atletico Madrid are said to be interested in the player, and he strikes me as a much more Atletico sort of signing than the Juventus one. So if I was to pick a destination out of those three, potentially Atletico, especially if they lose Griezmann, Forsberg has that ability to retain possession, to be highly creative, to contribute to goals, not necessarily a decisive finisher, but a bit of a creator maybe, which they've lacked up top since maybe Carrasco left. Not entirely sure. But yeah, he was averaging 3.1 key passes in that initial season in the Bundesliga, which is crazy numbers. But with his contract running until 2022, I can't see him leaving German shores for cheap dosh. But where do you guys think he's going to end up? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to someone who might be going to Juventus.
Yes, like Chris says, we're over to Turin for our final move, and it's Lorenzo Pellegrini who could be on his way to the old lady.
Yeah, apparently so. The 21-year-old defensive midfielder has a release clause of £26 million, which apparently Arsenal and Juventus are both ready to enact, according to Corriere della Sera. Now, Juventus, arguably in a stronger financial position, if you believe the rumours about Emery's budget, and probably a more appealing prospect given their domestic dominance and qualification for Champions League football. And like you've said, it's a well-trodden path and one that's proved to be very successful for numerous other professionals. Impress at a Italian club, move to Juventus. And it's not hard to see why he's attracting a fair bit of fanfare. He seems, at least from looking at the stats, like a fantastic all-rounder. He's contributed to 7 goals in just 22 starts, despite being in that slightly reserved position, and has racked up almost 100 appearances at the age of 21 in all competitions after breaking through very young at Sassuolo. And he kind of fits in the same way Liverpool are operating with a new kind of signing agenda. He kind of fits Juventus's latest forays into the transfer market. Bernardeschi, Bentancur, Rugani, he could be part of that restoration project with a lot of Juve's older sort of battle-born players approaching 32, 33. I mean, look at their midfield. Khedira, 31, Matuidi, 31, Marquisio, 32. So it would bring the average age of that midfield down nicely if he could cement his place in that side.
I think as well, being an all-rounder suits Juventus more than it does Arsenal. I think Arsenal need a specialist defensive midfielder, and I'm not sure Pellegrini is that. Now, he's made 2.9 tackles and interceptions per game this season, and that's really good when you look at his attacking output. If he was just a defender, you'd say maybe this should be a little bit better, but the way that Juve build their midfield is everybody kind of does a bit of everything, right? You know, Khedira, Marquisio, these are guys who are jacks of all trades, pretty good at everything. And Pellegrini, to have those numbers at such a young age, suggests that he could contribute now and maybe go on to be an outstanding player. You'd hope in the mould of Radja Nainggolan, who's he's been playing alongside at Roma. In fact, only Alexandro and De Sciglio have better defensive numbers at Juventus than him, which kind of shows that there's no outstanding defensive midfielder in that squad.
Yeah, because Matuidi was being deployed a little bit further forward at the start of the season, right? As this sort of like press monster.
Yeah.
Allegri doesn't really ask his players to do one thing, they're expected to do everything.
Yeah, well, Matuidi has kind of made his career off those late bursts into the box, hasn't he? Almost playing like an auxiliary winger when people like come inside from the wings. I think, though, that Matuidi would probably be a slight block on Pellegrini's starts for the time being. He's got a contract till 2020. Khedira's contract is up next year. So you'd expect Pellegrini would take a back seat and then when he's 23, become a regular starter. However, that hasn't necessarily been the case in the past. You know, we've seen guys like Rugani and even Bernardeschi this season really struggling to get regular minutes. Yeah, Piazza too. Arsenal, on the other hand, could probably use him. They need a box-to-box midfielder. I think that Aaron Ramsey will sign a new contract this summer or he'll be sold. However, and to have a defensively minded midfielder next to Xhaka would go a long way to firming up that midfield area. But he's also producing 2 chances a game. That's the same as Pjanic, you know, as you were talking about before. And that's more than everyone bar, I think, Ozil, maybe a Iwobi at Arsenal. You know, it's better than Mkhitaryan on 1.5. So I don't know. He certainly looks like a talent. He certainly looks like somebody you want to get. If you can get it for £26 million, I think you go for it. And Arsenal could probably pay him more in wages. That's the one thing they have going for them over Juventus. This would certainly make more sense than Forsberg, but to me, if you're an outstanding young Italian player, there's only one place you end up, and it is Juventus. But let us know what you guys think. Where's he going to go, and where should he go? Let us know in the comments below.
Very quickly then, before we finish, instead of a transfer shocker this week, because it would have been something mundane and boring, we've gone for a couple of ones to watch. Now, I pinged you a message last night. I said, who do you want to stick in here? And you said, Koric, who's just moved to Roma from Dinamo Zagreb. Give us the lowdown on him, but let's keep it brief.
Well, like every quality player who comes out of Croatia, he's a central midfielder. He's moved for about £6 million. Scored 3 in 24 last season, but really good creative contribution. And this is a guy who 3 years ago I remember reading articles about from kind of scouting and statistically minded like football guys, like saying this guy's going to be a star. His former Zagreb youth coach, Zoran Mamic, described him as better than Modric and Kovacic at his age. Now, let's not go overboard, but he's certainly an exciting young prospect. And he's a very Monchi signing. You know, get this guy in for 6 mil. Maybe they do sell Pellegrini for 26. That's an extremely severe-ish thing for them to do.
Been incessantly linked with teams in the Premier League in the past as well, hasn't he? I think maybe West Ham and Liverpool. Yeah, I've actually gone for a goalkeeper who I'd heard nothing about prior to seeing his stats on Twitter and being pleasantly surprised with him. Mere, 21-year-old goalkeeper from Spal. He made 13 appearances last season, pretty much sharing the number 1 spot with Alfred Gomes, who's also very young. I think he's 24. And he conceded around 22% fewer goals than expected, which actually put him 3rd in the league, young Mere. I think Handanovic and Szczesny were the only keepers above him.
Really?
So, pretty impressive pedigree, and as a result, Bleacher Report think that the old lady Juventus might move in for him. Now, it's been a recurrent theme, this transfer review, hasn't it? Juventus hoovering up that young talent. He's a product of Udinese's youth academy. He's been on loan at Spal for 2 seasons, and he impressed after playing an instrumental role, impressed Juventus that is, in a draw earlier on this season. That kind of put him on their radar. Sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, because it's hard to evaluate goalkeepers, and it's only every so often you see an anomaly like this, and I think he might have an exciting future if he kind of keeps it up without knowing that much about him. Just a bit of a punt. Anyway, that's it for Transfer Review this week, Pato. We've kind of, we've stumbled and bumbled, and we've found our way there. Can't even do the end. Please, what else is on? Put me out of my misery.
Stat Wars, the Champions continues as always. Obviously, Football Mondial, check that out as well. Our great top 10s, good, as usual. And what else have we got? Continental Club, that will be out later in the week. So stay tuned. Make sure that you've subscribed and like below. And tell us what you think about our terrible opinions on football. Thank you.